and the love for good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people. That thought and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, 6. Item 6. Correction of votes and proceedings and official report of Friday, 7th March, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 7, page 8. Yes, Honorable Member.
Speaker, with respect, none of us on the last row has a copy of the... No, they haven't uploaded it. It's not on it.
Yes, page 8. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, page 8. For consistency's sake, item 6A, Methodist Girls High School, Manfi, from Equiapim, has been spelled with an E. However, if you go to page 262, the constituency, Equiapim has been spelled with an I. The I or the E, that's correct. Yeah, just for consistency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, table office kindly cross-check the correct spelling of Aquapim with regard to the constituency, not the general term Aquapim, the proper spelling name of the constituency. Page.
Right, Honorable Speaker, there is a correct spelling.
Which one is the correct spelling?
With an E.
So what about page 2 when it's an I?
The Electoral Commission designated it as an I, but for the school...
I'm not interested. I'm interested in the correct spelling.
The correct spelling is an E.
Yes, so why didn't you draw attention when we're at page 2? When it was spelled with I.
Don't be already here. All those here.
That is not a challenge to me. It's a challenge to you. If it is that the whole has been given copies, that I can come in. But when some individuals don't have copies, it's not a point of order for Mr. Speaker to stop the proceedings. Yes. Minister for Foreign Affairs.
I'm most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, item number 5II page 8. The communication from His Excellency the President informing the House that the Honorable Mohammed Mubarak has been assigned additional ministerial responsibility for national security. Mr. Speaker, has been omitted. It should be inserted so that it doesn't create the impression that this is because he's Minister for the Interior. Assigned responsibility for national security. They capture that because the reshuffle, if it's not captured accurately. So Right Honourable Speaker, the rendition here convey accurately what the communication is, because he's the Minister for Interior and he has been assigned responsibility for national security. So, Mr. Speaker, if the table office can capture the essence more accurately, you don't get that impression here.
Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, what's your authority on this? Is it or in the communication?
Well, Right Honourable Speaker, is from the communication, and Honourable Ministers.
Have you communication?
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker, we were copied.
Whether you were talking or you were laughing, that's not an issue. The issue is, have you had sight of the communication? You are
yes,
sure?
Mr. Speaker.
Because they did not have any word like additional. The communication assigned the responsibility of not additional responsibility. So, Minister, you are out of order. Yes, can we proceed? Yes, Minister of Energy and Green Transition. Oh, energy.
Mr. Speaker, just a suggestion to you. Computers. So make available and make comments and suggestions as necessary. Mr. Speaker, just for your guidance and consideration. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, the structure we are using, the Parliament, was constructed in 1964. In spite of all our efforts to modernize it, we are still having serious challenges. And so it's not easy to unload some of the applications we have. Even the electrical connections are also giving us serious. It means we have to replace all, including the Job 600. And that's quite a colossal sum. Has not been able to take. So we have a lot to unload into your pieces, but we are having challenges. And so you see that in piecemeal. And I hope in the near future we'll succeed in putting all there so that it will be a paperless Parliament. We don't want to It's quite expensive to run such a system. I think it's 670. So bear with us. We'll get there sooner than later. Yes, Honorable, can we go to page 9?
No, that's what we are rather aggregating, and it is exceeding 67 billion.
Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Honorable member, my mic is working. Honorable members, that your mics have stopped working.
KOFI Radio. Radio, the true radio for the Ghanaian and the Ghanaian abroad. KOFI Radio.
afei Dr. Kejasi ɔno nso ka nsɛm bi ti ɔno nso ne deɛ no yɛ sɛ onima da wo so wetumi asibia mu tie ɔsɛ mekwa mobi aba kanea wo pɛkyerɛ me iba ɛna mobi suno bi ewiasimo ɛna wa ye wi mi boni aya wo ni panye ɛnam dia so na ma suno abai mekwa mobi aba kanea wo pɛkyerɛ me ingeriba ɛna mobi suno bi ye ewiasimo iba ɛna mi boni aya wo ni panye amasa nefe and I'm just so now my was it? Mekwa mobia bakane o picture as a massa nefe. And I'm a bizuno bia area simo eva. And now I hear with me bonia uni panye and I'm just so now as a man on one so I would do. Mekwa mobia bakane o picture me.
Honorable members, please be seated.
And I'm just so now my mobia back and I will picture me. And I will be soon no be I Simo Eva. And I'm just so now. What's it? I'm a question shit. As I'm saying. Saudi to an umnase anyoda, baby. You maunia, so ring, area simo. You then don't find you near. I'm a question shit, and sounds ya. Saudi to an umda, baby. You maunia, so ring, area simo. I didn't want any then don't find you. Mekwa mobia by can you picture me? Ingeriba, and I will be Sudo Bia, Simo, Ebe, and you me Bonia, only Pande, and I'm just so now. Mekwa mobia by can you Ingeriba. I am poor. And never hear we me bonia. Would it find it? So now, Kake Kubonumbi. Cake's number one band. Yen has a new way so back. Way at them. Kake Cake's number one. Take what? I say me wo yama dende me uncle ba yama uncle ba yama dende me uncle ba yama dende me uncle ba o say asem no yama dende kakeku I say me wo yama me uncle ba yama dende me uncle ba yama dende me uncle ba yama dende me uncle ba I say me wo yama dende me uncle ba 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 get it I touch it in your phone. What for your uncle then and a former search to the yes and papa me mammy free
KOFI Radio.
Now over here you know the Acacia so a former search to the
KOFI Radio, the true radio. KOFI Radio. KOFI Radio.
ansa na yie na duru so no efo soma ne yonko pete se kwa chechede ho na kwa kire no se me maame yie no baso na na wotwi okacha chechede ka chen so pete ko ka kire fo se yie no de meba na emo pete mpese o ya de bi mame ba yie da no mesum mfidie bi na mekọ akọhwe me mfidie no na emo obeba no na maboaboa me niema no asi ha enti opete oba fa me niema no dikan odua no so ma me na se me nam kwan so na meba asem yiba asem mi yangoba yama denge yangoba yama denge no yangoba eye da na duru so obe kwa achechede nchen ekọ ka kire ne se eye da na bankoto na no anya ne ho ntiase dada efisa kire ne se twede momoba onfa ne niema eni kan ma no enti na achechede boto si ho enu nti opeto etu fa edi kodua ne so ekoye odu ye fo ka kire opete se na me yonko achechede wen oso yonko achechede se wasum mfidie bi nti odi kan akọ many kind man ono ankasa nam kwan so obeba efo ka se menye ni se me yonko achechede betumi aba na emo boto yara na mebie mu ahwe woguso kasa chechire boto ne woso yekobie boto emu a achechede na che boto emu achechede ka so obeba ye no na nsa ne adwen ato ho aba ye no ampa a achechede se enyame na mabe enyame na mabe enyame na mabe achechede se enyame na mabe enyame na mabe enyame na mabe
KOFI Radio.
enyame yama denge meyangoba yama denge meyangoba yama
KOFI Radio.
yama denge meyangoba iriba yama denge meyangoba yama denge meyangoba yama denge meyangoba meyangoba iriba 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 achechede se enyame na mabe enyame na mabe enyame na mabe enyame na mabe iriba enyame na mabe enyame na mabe enyame na asemi wo yama denge meyangoba yama denge meyangoba yama denge okode nyum bi ba ye hwese o se semeka na wo kan eno na dia semba eno nti eto na bia ogegefo bi bejeje wa jaro no mfa ne muso nka enko evisa no kan no so kana tetenyom adadem tetenyom ewa etsu enye mi shine baby someday ifye Ebinde ifeya enche hanko for da mensa ewa me hanko for da mensa awanga ma mensa man kanche apeka ba da mensa awre hosem ifeya hanko for da mensa kama menka ota semona ebe awanga ma awre hosem enche hanko for da mensa awanga ma menso mankanche apale kabanda mensa ya enche hausa kama menka oza samona me kama menka oza samona me anso mankanche apale kabanda mensa aure hosem ifye ya enche hanko fona mensa awanga menso mangika banda mensa awre hosem ifeya enche hanko fona mensa enyi mishano abanka banda isha mechi police fozi mechi efebi samene minya ifeya agende enche hanko fona mensa ewa mienwe kama minka oza semona me Eva, na so man can't tell about the Kabada Mesa. I would have said, the failure and chair in good again. I so man can't tell about the Kabada Mesa. I would have said, the failure and chair for the Mesa. It was me and my Kama Osame. Kama Mika Oza Semona. I want Kama Meso man can't tell about the Kabada Mesa.
KOFI Radio.
Abu Ebi Waho, Wafred a full punko, so did me Sabi, was your dencote no ye. Dark Edramwen and Safo. I'll catch a full pongo there, a full pongo. Abadintina out to the Italian, see the putting the Ukraine. As I some level may quampire and Saneria Warao. Saneria Warao. I didn't Saneria Warao. I me wo sa mumu bebre te akonyanum na moda na mo ho akonyanum wonsi dwam preko yesu bio e want to go abu obi wo ho wo friend fu bongo so di me ya sabi kwasi adem kote no ye dakra no pebina ejamwenya nsafo okache fu bongo de fu bongo abadinti na anko to the Italian kwasi adem kote ne greu se anja na njenia eza sam the way kompa bendere saneri warao adinderi me
KOFI Radio. KOFI Radio.
Okay. so I no so me to me casa, yeah, baby. Me when you are so me water, oh I saw so me tasem, no I no so me to me casa, man you are going, Eva, my sweet tia. I'm a breaking the water, Simon and me, baby. Man, you are going, so what's here? I'm a breaking the water, Simon and me. Miss Mammy can be, oh, Mammy can be, oh, Mammy tell you, oh, Mammy tell you, oh, Mammy shave you, oh, Mammy shave you, oh, Miss Mammy can be, oh, Mammy can be, oh, Pablo. Siba parara, sabidu bara, papara, siba parara, sabidu bara, papara, siba para, sabidu bara, papara, siba, sabidu bara, papa. Moana somuwaza, moa sosumintasem, moa no somintuminga. Me when you are so me waza, moa somintasem, you are no somintuminga. Ah, sigamwe. Man, you are going Brania Katia, Amani Gaka was Sawasa, man, you are Akbaja, Masakatia, Amani Gaka. This is what mommy gave you, mommy gave you, my baby. Oh, mommy tell you, oh, mommy tell you, my baby. Oh, mommy tell you. Anyone saw me water? Oh, I saw seven. You are no so meant to make us a baby. And you are going, so what's that? I shake and say, I want to me, baby. And you are going, I shake and say, I'm a nigga, go on. Seven of
KOFI Radio.
One, two, three. Sunday in Ria so I'm going to say every Sanka of anything go on, Ebe, Anka and to a quiet moda. Nanone Casa, so I go to this, Ebe, Obi, Abago to this, and I say guarantee, so now the final. Baby, I'm betting in ho and one baby. I'm penko was a go to a bone. Eba, hey, when you are bet, why must I want to be a go there on ye bedo? Why must I want to be a go there on ye bedo? Check it again. Samanina to say in your bed. Sawakoto, Uncle say, Sanka of anything go, Ebe, Anka and to a paye moda. Sawakoto, say, so you know, Ebe, Obi, near about to say, then na se prata na be fa no la ebe so baba Virginia ne ho ewo ni hu eba ampen ko bo se wa ko to ne ho very one wo be dem de onye bi do why man za wa ho be die ago
The Honorable First Deputy Speaker to the Chair. The Deputy is Fiscal, and the same applies to the next sentence, so consequential amendment to that. Thank you.
Honorable grateful. Table office, kindly take note. Page 15. Page 16. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. In item 9, item 9I, name number Honorable Professor Grace.
Page 16.
Page 16.
Yes.
Name number 11. Item 9I. That's committee.
Oh, you're talking about item 19, not 9. 19I.
19I. I'm guided.
Yes.
The arrangement of the title, I see some inconsistency. I know for the standard in our votes and proceedings, we usually have the title, the professor, coming at the end of the name and in brackets. The arrangement is different, Honorable Professor. And I see that again on page 22, but I have seen that repeated several times. So if there could be some consistency with the arrangement, I think that would be helpful, Mr. Speaker.
Page 8. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Page 18. Has been repeated. Honorable Alfred Ni Koteyashi. Both at 11 and 12. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable has been drawn by the chief whips to the fact that there have been some mistakes, errors in the list that was submitted and approved. I think it was on Friday. Yes. Working at it, and they will come back to us properly. Some of the issues you are raising now, please, kindly hold your peace. We'll get it corrected later on. Please. With regard to the composition of the committees, both standing and select committees. So page 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, 29, 30, the end of 58 in later on. So please, honorable members, hold your peace until they resubmit position to the House. In the meantime, the committees by law are established. The composition that we're having issues with. The referral will be to the committee. And that is what will happen after the of the budget. Please, with that, we'll take page 59. Page 60. Honorable members, in the absence of any further actions, the votes and proceedings of the 29th sitting, dated Friday, 7th March 2025, adopted as the true record of proceedings. I have a copy of the official report of Tuesday, 25th February 2025. Any honorable members, in the absence of any correction? Yes?
Mr. Speaker, minor corrections on column 79, second paragraph, line 8. Line 8. The former president, John Ajekun Kufuor, names are very significant. The second Kufuor was spelled wrongly. It should be K-U-F-U-O-R, not O-U-R. Kufuor. Then the last paragraph, the last sentence, beginning to tend concept. Tend is used here, but I suspect the right word should be tend, T-U-R-N, instead of N-D. Thank you.
Table office, kindly take note of that. Yes, honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, on column 75, line 8, the sentence should read, but I want to highlight one important thing that the maker, Mr. Speaker, the article there has been excluded, and I think that it is proper we include that. Still on the same column, line 17. Mr. Speaker, it should read as from the law, comma, the act that was passed by the House, comma, we has been omitted. We should look at the projects. So, Mr. Speaker, the Hansard department the table should include we there. Mr. Speaker, column 76, paragraph 3. We have, Mr. Speaker, lastly, I would want to also from the budgeting offloading of projects, comma, the mistake here is the phrase, the maker of the statement has to be deleted. The maker of the statement has to be deleted and replaced with we, so that it will then read as, Mr. Speaker, lastly, I would suggest that apart from the budgetary offloading of projects, we could include in every brochure, ... So that, I think, should be the rendition. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, the same paragraph, line. I would be able to tell that when I call this investor, they would be, the B is, and it has to be included in the sentence, be able to, and we'll replace participate with partner. We'll replace participate with same sentence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, civil office listen to the voice and do the proper thing. Well, this is quite massive. And participate, they are quite different and distinct. So the voice will determine which one. Because others, it talks about it being put in as much as possible is a verbatim reportage of what is said. Yes, please.
I'm most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, column 144 of the official report, my contribution to the Osajifo Doctor. The second paragraph at column 144, the word is faith columnists, not, so it should be FIFTH. What we have here is FEED. So, Mr. Speaker, if that can be corrected. First paragraph at column 144, Fidel Castro should not belong to that category. It should be put in a different category. So if the corrections could be effected accordingly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, table office, kindly take note of that. Yes, the official report of the 25th February 2025 is hereby adopted as a true record. Honourable members, we will now move on to the item of the day. I mean the main item of the day, that is item 7. The first statement, yes.
Mr. Speaker, on our today's order paper, item 7, as you rightly call, the budget statement and economic policy for the year ending 31st December 2025. Mr. Speaker, I want to invite you to our standing orders, order 99. 2. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I need guidance and I'll read it. Mr. Speaker,
please, the Deputy Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the Minister was Mr. Speaker, Order 1952. With your permission, Mr. Speaker, I need guidance and I read. The budget statement and economic policy of the government shall be presented to the House responsible for finance on behalf of or on the authority of the President, and in a form the House may determine. Mr. Speaker, on the last part, in a form the House may determine. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, this new stand on 9th Parliament, we haven't determined any form the budget statement will be presented as at now. Mr. Speaker, I have gone to read Order 6, and I have checked on our schedule from Schedule 1 to Schedule 10, and that of Order 6. And I have to understand. And as we stand, Mr. Speaker, as at now, not determined the form the budget is going to be presented. So, Mr. Speaker, the House have to determine the form before he can present any statement. That is my plea, that the House must determine. My application is that the House must determine the form of the budget statement before he reads the statement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Public Financial Management Act and its various amendments spell out clearly budgeting process, the requirements of a budget, what must be contained in it, and etc. And that was legislated by the same Parliament. And this Parliament acts according to the prescriptions of that legislation. There are provisions in the standing orders that recommend that we have a form in which the budget should be presented. The provisions of the Public Financial Management Act, of course, is the parent legislation dealing with financial management and the presentation of. There's an issue here. Let's proceed and take the budget statement from the Minister of Finance.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I have listened to the application by the Member of Parliament for Toulon. I have also listened to the Leader of the House responding to the said application. The Leader of the House makes a general. The application was anchored on the rules of this House. A mandatory provision in 9.5, there's no made there. It reads, for the avoidance of doubt and at the risk of being repetitive, this is what it says. The budget statement of the government shall be presented to the House by the minister responsible for finance. Take it easy. They should take it easy. They should take it easy. This is law of our young ones, for the benefits of the young ones. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a house. Wait a moment. For those who are in a hurry to shout in his agreement, if the law, the House may decide not to determine any form. What? No, wait. The law is that must be presented. But we we are saying again that as a house, we may have to determine. Well, Mr. Speaker, the invitation by the minority, the deputy minority whip, is well founded. He is inviting us to determine, are we going to allow him to make a statement, or we are going to allow him to move a motion? Is it going to be in a form of a motion statement? This is a well-anchored application. Don't use your number to shout to intimidate him. He has made a solid argument. This House has not determined in which this item has to be taken. The deputy minority whip is inviting us to set the ground rules. The majority leader got to PFM Act to say what? He didn't quote the specific provision. The man has made an application under our own rule. Attack him on the rules. You didn't know. You didn't say anything against his application on the rules. Mr. Speaker, as the minister is here, are we going to listen to him? What are you? Is he going to make a statement, or he is going to move a motion? This House is being invited to determine this matter. You see, the Supreme Court has had an occasion to give a context to mean shall. Yes, it is there. No, come on, Mr. Speaker. Even that may should be shall. The point is that the law provides that in the form. The law says we should determine the form. In this House, there are ways to come here. You come to make a statement. You come. What is the minister coming to do? It's for this House to determine. Is he going to move a motion in accordance with Article 179, or he's coming to make a statement? A statement. What happens? Is it going to be left with a chairman of a finance committee to now move that this House should debate the statement? This is a solid application. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I've heard enough. The writing has. The order you quoted clearly states this of the estimates of revenue and expenditure of the government. It says what? The statement. And so what they are bringing statements. And when statements are, they are presented as statements. Now, when you go to 1952, which you refer to, it says the budget statement and economic policy of the government shall be presented to the House by the minister responsible for finance on behalf of or on the authority of the president. That's first. Second, and in a form the House may. Honorable Minority Leader, you are not in a shouting battle. Please. This is the House. The only way, however you define form, is when the statement is you. They have in this matter outside the house. Determine it when you are truly sitting as a house. The house, he's presenting the statement. If you decide that you want a form, you define form in any different manner. As when it is presented, you take this opportunity to determine. The statement must first be presented to you. It has to be presented of the debate. I'm not sure the definition you are putting. Please go back to your lecture. To determine meaning of form. I think the statement was admitted, and the minister is here to present the statement to the House. The minister may do so. So, honorable members, Honorable Minister, just a minute. Just a minute. Honorable members, at the commencement, yes.
Mr. Speaker, just to thank you for your guidance and the proper interpretation of 1952. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Until I became a journalist.
Mama, if you are ya Santa Fa, dear, a fufu, breakfast and wow. Hey, Mama, if you are ya Santa Fa, dear. I feel one cry and cry 14 years. Was it? If you are ya cry for
Honorable members, item 7, statements. The budget statement and for the year ending 1st December 2025. Minister for Finance.
Mr. Speaker, on the authority of His Excellency the President, pursuant to Article 179 of the Constitution, and the other Order 1952 and today's Order Paper Item 7. The Speaker present to you the budget statement and economic policy of government for the year ending 31st December 2025. Right on. Today marks a moment of great significance, and I have the singular honor for this House to present on behalf of His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, following his extraordinary mandate, the maiden budget administration. Mr. Speaker, I'm deeply grateful to His Excellency the President for entrusting me with this responsibility. Respectfully, Mr. Speaker, I also submit to this House the following statutory report as required by law. The 2024 on the Petroleum Funds, in line with Section 48 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815, as amended. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also submit the 2024 Energy Sector Levies Report in accordance with Section 6 of the Energy Sector Levies Act 2015. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the 2024 Annual Report on the collection and utilization of the African Import Union Levy in Section 7 of the African Union Import Levy Act 2017, Act 952. Right Honourable Speaker, to support the policies of government aimed at stabilizing the economy and promoting inclusion. The first will be an amendment to the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815. The second will be the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund 2870. And the second will be an amendment to the Mineral Income Investment Fund Act 2018, Act 978. The Speaker, I will also be seeking amendment to the Levies Act 2015, Act 899. I will be seeking amendment to the Ghana Cocoa Board Act, Act 1984, the PNDC as amended. The Speaker, that's not all. I will also be seeking amendment to the Earmark Funds Capping and Realignment Act 2017, Act 947, Authority Act 2003, Act 663 as amended in Act 914. Speaker, I will be seeking amendment to the Ghana Act 2000, Act 581. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I will also be seeking amendment to the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018 and incorporating into a comprehensive public financial management act. Mr. Speaker, I forgot to add that I will also be seeking amendment to the Revenue Administration Act of our 24-hour economic policy, as stimulating economic growth. And, Right Honourable Speaker, this policy will contribute to addressing Ghana's structural economic challenge by creating an integrated, efficient, increasingly export-driven industrial economy that fulfills the utilization of our national resources, capital, and labor power. Will be presenting the 24-hour economic policy to Parliament in due course. In this respect, Mr. Speaker, the Ghana Investment Promotion Act and other enabling legislations will be reviewed accordingly. Mr. Speaker, as part of the effort to stabilize through foreign exchange and gold reserve accumulation, I will also submit a bill to provide a legal framework for the establishment
Hausa for the Hausa. Hey, mama, ebi anaye Hausa for our eye nenchie. Missing Hausa. Hey, mama, ebi anaye Hausa for our eye nenchie. Missing kwao. Afi kwao for the
of the Ghana gold.
Hey, mama, ebi anaye kwao for our eye fufu. Apan kwao. Hey, mama, ebi anaye kwofo apare eye fofo apan kwao ekwiapemfo yenie. Hey, mama, ebi anaye ekwiapem aware eye mekwan.
Honourable Speaker, the environment I gained in this chamber has shaped my perspective, sharpened my focus, and prepared me for the task at hand. I fully commit the president to fix the economy of Ghana. I take this opportunity to extend my profound gratitude to the good people of Ejumako and Yanesiam, my constituents, and to you, Mr. Speaker, and members of this House across the aisle, for your unwavering throughout my years in this chamber. Mr. Speaker, this esteemed House is a sanctuary of rigorous debate, principled cooperation, and an active disagreement, all in the pursuit of greater good of our beloved country. I look forward to working with you, Right Honourable Speaker, and my colleagues of the aisle to reset the Ghana's economy through sound policy and structural reforms that will propel our country forward. So there comes a time in a nation's history when fundamental challenges must be confronted, difficult choices must be made, and a new course must be set for the future. For Ghana, the defining moment is now. Mr. Speaker, President John Dramani Mahama committed to reset Ghana for jobs, accountability, prosperity. The Speaker, as captured in the NDC manifesto, in this regard, the team budget is resetting the economy for Ghana we want. Right, Honourable Speaker, the democratic principles we tirelessly fought for are being held. Our democracy has been consolidated, another peaceful transition of power. That notwithstanding, our youth face an uncertain future with growing unemployment and hopelessness. That the dividend of democracy, such as economic prosperity and social justice, the Speaker, the choice before us as a country are clear. We can either continue on a path of self-destruction in the problems, or we can embark on a journey of fundamental reforms and transformation, one that resets our economic model, redefines our priorities, honors our social, provide opportunity for all. The Speaker, luckily, President Mahama has chosen the path of reform and transformation. He will fix, he will restore hope and lead us to build the Ghana we want together. Right Honourable Speaker, this budget was by the National Economic Dialogue on the theme Resetting Ghana, Building the Economy We Want Together, on the 3rd and the 4th of March 2025. It was building dialogue. The people demanded a decisive action, real solution to the severe challenges that plagued us as a country. The 2025 budget is a culmination of the true aspirations, felt needs, genuine desires of the people of Ghana, expressed through diverse stakeholders. As part of our broad consultation also, ahead of the budget, we recently engaged traders at major trading centers, including the market, to listen to their concerns, gauge their expectations, and elicit their input. So, Speaker, the extensive consultation revealed that the concern among Ghanaian traders and business community remains price and exchange rate stability. Apart from eroding their working capital, exchange rate volatility, effective business planning impossible, and increase the cost of doing business. This budget outlines far-reaching measures which will be implemented in collaboration with the Central Bank, the Bank of Ghana, to effectively and efficiently manage the exchange rate and inflation. Mr. Speaker, we also engage the youth of Ghana and the media as part of our new budget consultation. Mr. Speaker, during my engagement with the youth, it was revealed that 321 pharmacists who were since June 2023 have not received their salaries. We will take urgent steps to remedy this situation immediately. Honorable Speaker, this conversation was an eye-opening experience, one that strengthened my belief that the voices of the youth matter in designing policies that indirectly impact their lives and future. So, Speaker, in the year 2016, I came to this chamber on behalf of the then Minister to boost public financial management system. Even though, Mr. Speaker, the Public Financial Management Act remains one of the best in the world, its poor implementation has rendered our systems weak, allowing for abuse and costly infraction. So, Speaker, President Mohammed's government is committed to the full implementation of this critical. So, Speaker, accordingly, we will enforce the sanction regime, link contracting and public procurement to budgetary provisions in the medium-term expenditure framework for all multi-year commitments as required by law. Public procurement process and link them to approved budget. We will also respect the limits of the appropriations as approved by Parliament. We will return to the compensation of $10 focus to the state of the Ghanaian economy as at 31st December. Attention on the state of the Ghanaian economy as at 31st December 2024. Mr. Speaker, we inherited an economy in deep crisis. Mr. Speaker, an economy had debt and beset by other fiscal challenges, such as large accumulation of MDRS, energy sector, and financial sector payments. Mr. Speaker, recommitment control and spending have reversed the progress made in even under the IMF program. That 2023. The Speaker, made under the IMF supported program that was to achieve through the painful sacrifice of domestic bondholders, external creditors, and taxpayers in distress. Right, Honorable Speaker, key performance indicators to be assessed by the IMF staff in the upcoming fourth review of the program, scheduled for 2025, such as the primary balance on commitment basis, inflation, social protection, and others, as at all, are likely missed. Right, Honorable Speaker. In addition, all structural benchmarks due by end December 2024 are also missed. So inflation worsened in the year 2024 from 23.2% in the year 2023 to 23.8% in 2020. Speaker, the 2024 end period inflation also exceeded the budget target of 15% by 8.8 percentage points and the IMF central target of 18.8 percentage points. Unfortunately, this has triggered a discussion with IMF under the monetary policy consultation clause. Right, Honorable Speaker, the pen basis worsened from a deficit of 0.2% of GDP in the year 2023 to a deficit of 3.9% in the year 2024. The primary balance on commitment basis target for 2024 was a surplus of 0.5% of GDP. Sadly, the previous government recorded a deficit of 3.9 point of a whopping 4.4 percentage point. Right, Honorable Speaker. At the end of December, total central government arrests amounted to 67.5 billion Ghana cedis, representing 5.2% of GDP. The Speaker, road sector recording an arrest of 21 billion Ghana cedis. The Speaker, when I assumed office on the 23rd of January 2025, this was inundated with requests for payment from many contractors and suppliers. To ascertain the total arrests and outstanding payment The Ministry of Finance decided to formally request all MDAs on the 28th of January 2028 on all arrests and outstanding claims. Subsequently, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance held a special hearing with the MDAs to validate the arrest for pay. Response from the MDAs and the validation revealed that a staggering 7.5 billion Ghana cedis is owed to government contractors and suppliers. Mr. Speaker, this concerns MDA's outstanding interim payment of invoices worth 49.2 billion and bank transfer advice at the Controller Accountant General worth 8 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this 67 billion excludes 1.73 billion US dollars owed to independent power producers. 11 billion also exclude 68 billion Ghana cedis owned by Electricity Company of Ghana to contractors. Mr. Speaker, this $67 also exclude the 32 billion owned by the Ghana Cocoa Board to contractors. And Mr. Speaker, this 67.5 billion also excludes the 5.75 billion owned by various contractors. Right, Honorable Speaker, the Bank of Ghana is also seeking an amount of 53 billion Ghana cedis as bailout to be able to address their negative they face. Mr. Speaker, as part of the measures to address these mounting accumulated arrests, we have commissioned an audit of these arrest payment value for money before a penny will be paid. Mr. Speaker, before a penny will be paid, we'll commit to do that arrest. Right, Honorable Speaker, in addition to this, in arrest, the validation process also revealed that MDAs have awarded contract to the tune of a minimum 194 billion. Mr. Speaker, this amount represents 16.5% of GDP as at the end of 2024. With the road sector again alone accounting for 1 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, most of these contractors and most of these contracts were awarded without commencement and authorization. Mr. Speaker, this is in blatant violation of the Public Financial Management Act 921. Right, Honorable, let me now update you on our debt service obligation. Apart from the huge arrests and commitment, our files further complicated by huge bullet debt service and constrained fiscal financing options. Currently, Mr. Speaker, the government option to finance is limited to only treasury following the debt restructuring program. Moreover, the forthcoming debt service of both domestic and Euro is 150.3 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, simply put, the interest and principal payment this obligation alone, Mr. Speaker, of this of this 150 billion Ghana cedis is due for payment in the year 2027 and 2028. Right, Honorable Speaker, 2027 alone, the domestic falling due will be 57.6 billion. Will be made to call upon to pay 52.5 billion Ghana. So, Speaker, and 2028 are major harms. These harms are cancerous. Speaker, touch wood, we shall fix it. We shall fix it. Mr. Speaker, our debt service of equally burdensome with significant harms. February, we were called upon to pay 9.9 billion. July, we'll be paying 2 billion, or we'll be paying 10.1 billion, all this year. Right, Honorable Speaker, the fiscal challenges are further compounded by the significant short-term treasury bill that will be inherited. So, Speaker, these obligations, totaling about 111.1 billion Ghana cedis, requires rollover, placing additional pressure on cash flows and liquidity requirements. Mr. Speaker, beyond the domestic maturities, Ghana faces significant external debt service for the next 4 years. The next 4 years will be made to call upon to pay $8.7 billion US dollars, representing 10.9% of GDP, with heavy concentration again in the year 2027 and 2028. Again, Mr. Speaker, 55% in the year 2027 and 2028. Right Honorable Speaker, in the year 2027, we'll be made to pay 2.5, and 2028, we'll have to again pay 2.4 billion US dollars. Right Honorable Speaker, it seems the debt restructuring by the previous administration was designed to make 2027 and 2028 debt repayment heavy. Sadly, so Speaker, we sat and allowed that design to happen. So Speaker, that is cancerous. But I can assure you, we will fix it. Mr. Speaker, in spite of all this upcoming domestic and external debt service obligation, no buffers were built to cushion this unprecedented debt service burden. As a service sinking fund in dollar has a balance of 64,000 US dollars. The Speaker, US dollars in that same account. The Speaker, the debt service reserve CD account had an amount of 143 rights ongoing and taken by previous administration. A staggering number of 50 projects have been halted. So Speaker, this leaves a massive amount of 3 billion Ghana US dollars and about $300 million in outstanding interim payment certificates, IPCs. Some of these projects for Pomachrome Road and the Tema Aflawa Road project. Mobilization from site could result in cost overruns of over 1.1 billion US dollars. Right Honorable Speaker, the IMF imposed an annual disbursement ceiling of $250 million for all bilateral loans that are being restructured. This constraint, it will take a minimum of 12 years to complete all of this stalled program. So Speaker, unfortunately, of the debt restructuring, all this stalled program, working with the IMF will take a minimum of 12 years if we decide to go business as usual. We'll be able to resolve this challenge. Speaker, I now take you to the famous energy sector fiscal risk. The increase in energy sector financing shortfall is posing significant risk to the Ghanaian economy. In the year 2024, the Ministry of the Energy sector, these resources could have been used for job creation and other development programs. The Speaker, a recent exercise conducted by the Energy Sector Financing Modeling Team, Energy Sector Recovery Program, ESRP, revealed that the business as usual energy sector has increased significantly to up in Ghana cedis for the year 2025 alone, even after spending in excess of 20 billion cedis in the year 2024. Right Honorable Speaker, the shortfall for the period 2023 to 2026 has been estimated to be about 140 billion Ghana cedis. The Speaker, 20 times more than the allocation for goods and service for all MDAs in the year 2025. The Speaker, in addition, the energy sectors relate to current invoices are largely unpaid legacy arrests due to the independent power producers. So the arrest stood up. The quota, which has long been the backbone of the Ghanaian economy, is sadly on its knees, owing to gross mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, the sector faces declining output, characterized by unsustainable debt, rollover, and quasi-fiscal expenditures, including cocoa roads. It's a non-core function of the Ghana Cocoa Board. Right Honorable Speaker, cocoa production has dropped by nearly 50% over the past 3 years. In the year 24 crop season, Cocoa Board was unable to supply 330,000 tons of cocoa to meet its contractual obligation. This sharply decline has affected the finances of Ghana Cocoa Board. This undersupply has been rolled over for subsequent years for the new administration to pay. These 2023 to 2024 forward sales contracts, locked in at lower prices than the current market rates, have resulted in revenue losses of about 840 million for both Ghana Cocoa Board and the impoverished cocoa farmer. Right Honorable Speaker, the rollout cocoa contract has resulted in a loss of $5 million for the year 2025 alone. So, Speaker, these are the risks in relation to the market price differentials, and as a result, causing the smuggling that we see with Ghana Cocoa Board. So, Speaker, Cocoa Board outstanding debt amount to 32 billion Ghana cedis. Of 92 billion is due to be paid in the year 2025. Outstanding cocoa road contracts reached 21 billion Ghana cedis, approximately 1.3 billion in 2024, of which only 4.4 billion has been accounted for in Cocoa Board's finances for the year 2025. The financial sector still struggles, even after spending 30.3 billion in the financial sector cleanup exercise by end 2024. 26.9 billion Ghana cedis after spending this amount in the banking sector. So, Speaker, as we speak, the financial sector is still struggling. The sector will require 10.45 billion Ghana cedis to address the financial sector legacy issues and emerging risk. In addition, Mr. Speaker, 2.2 billion Ghana cedis is required to fully capitalize the National Investment Bank and the Agricultural Development Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I will also ask on the fiscal performance for the year 2024. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal performance in the year 2024 was characterized by revenue collection, but with significant expenditure overruns. In addition, large arrests were accumulated over the period. In summary, the provisional data shows the following. 1. Primary balance on commitment basis, the key fiscal anchor of the IMF program, went from a deficit of 0.2% of GDP at the end of 2023 to a deficit of 3.9% of GDP at the end of the T24. This is 4.4 percentage points worse than the target surplus of 0.5% of GDP. Sadly, Mr. Speaker. The primary balance was a deficit of 1.2% of GDP against a target of 0.6% of GDP, a 100% deviation. So, Speaker, the overall fiscal balance on commitment basis for 2024 was 10.9% of GDP against a target of 4.2% of GDP, while the overall fiscal balance on cash basis was a deficit of 5.2% of GDP, target of 5.3% of GDP. Total revenue and grant amounted to 186.6 billion Ghana, 15.9% of GDP, 5.3% above the revised target of 177.2 billion Ghana cedis, or 4% of GDP. The performance was mainly driven by higher than programmed oil and gas receipts and higher non-oil tax revenue collection. Expenditure on commitment basis, including discrepancies, amounted to 203.7% of GDP. This is 1% above the budget provisions of the year 2024, Mr. Speaker. The primary balance on commitment basis amounted to 232.4 billion, or 19.8% of GDP. This is 35.3% above the target of 100 billion, or 16.8% of GDP. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, all expenditure lines exceeded their respective targets for the interest payments, goods and service, and other expenditures. Right Honorable Speaker, the discrepancies for the year 2024 being classified as 0.8 billion Ghana cedis as compared to 12.9 billion Ghana cedis in the year 2023. Mr. Speaker, December 2024, provisional data indicate that gross central government and guaranteed debt was 726.7 billion from 2023. This represents 61.8% of GDP in 2024, compared to 68.7% in the year. Mr. Speaker, it is instructive to note that the debt to GDP ratio and the dollar component of our debt that has come down. That's as a result of the 37% haircut on principal of Eurobond debt under the debt restructuring. Mr. Speaker, it is important to know that. Mr. Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, it is instructive to note that the debt to GDP that has reduced is as a 7% haircut on principal and interest that were given to Euro debt restructuring program in the year 2022 to restore debt sustainability and economic stability. The restructuring process is approximately 93% completed. The remaining 7% relate to debt of 2.7 creditors. We are committed to completing the remaining debt restructuring as soon as sector development in 24. Right Honorable Speaker, provisional 2024 published by the Ghana Statistical Service on the 10th of March 2025 shows that, Mr. Speaker, end of increase to 5.7% in the year 2024, by 5.7% of GDP, compared to the growth rate of 3. The key driver of this growth was largely coming from gold mine. So, Speaker, including Galamsey. Mr. Speaker, compared with the growth rate of 3.6% recorded in 2023. Mr. Speaker, the gross increased to a stock position of $8.98 billion at the end of 2024 and was enough to cover 4 months of imports, exceeding the target of a floor of 3 months of import cover. At the end of 2024, the currency had depreciated by 19.9% against the US dollars, 17.8% against the British pound, so Speaker, and it had depreciated 7% against the euro. The Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, it is what it is. It is troubling, but we will fix it. Mr. Speaker, touch wood, we will fix it. But it will require some sacrifices, truthfulness, transparency, and discipline. We will take strong measures to the situation head on. Mr. Speaker, the sacrifice must come from all stakeholders, beginning with the government. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency and has led the charge by significantly downsizing his government from the elephant 30 to the umbrella 23. Mr. Speaker, as Labour has followed suit by working with government and employers association to agree on His Excellency the President, I would like to express gratitude to organized labor and employers. Since 2022, hyperinflation, high food inflation, among others. Mr. Speaker, it is now time for the people's representative to follow suit. I would like to call stakeholders, including the business community, faith-based organizations, and civil society to support this national call. Our immediate task is to reset our nation, to restore good governance, reduce the... Through this vision, we will work together to get what we want. Right Honorable Speaker, when a trusted the vulnerable, particularly women and youth, and creating a new Ghana for coming generations. And finally, aid in Ghana goods under the 24-hour economy. Mr. Speaker, today I came to this chamber with made bag, signifying, Mr. Speaker, with made in Ghana bag, Mr. Speaker, I would like to first present, Mr. Speaker, they don't know that in Ghana we sow suit. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to first present the government's immediate and strong measures to address the current challenges we are confronted with. Following by the medium-term vision, policy objectives and targets. Right Honorable Speaker, consistent with Section 14 of the Act 2016 Act 911, the fiscal policy objectives of this government is to support the economic transformation agenda to ensure the macroeconomic of the country within the macroeconomic and fiscal framework. More specifically, the fiscal policy objective of the government includes rationalizing government expenditure and eliminating wasteful expenditures, optimizing domestic revenue mobilization through broadening of tax base, increased non-tax revenue collection, adopting enhanced tax compliance, modernizing the tax administration through digital technology. Mr. Speaker, we will also increase the share of domestic expenditure to speed and job creation. We'll be reducing public debt to sustainable deficit progressively in accordance with the amended Fiscal Responsibility Act, the Ghana economy. Right Honorable Speaker, will be to foster economic growth, accelerate job creation, reduce inflation, and stabilize the cedi. To achieve this, it is crucial that we establish stability and ensure debt. Mr. Speaker, we are confident that by prioritizing these fundamental elements, we can individuals can prosper and businesses can thrive in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians through the recent have expressed a clear desire for fiscal deficit and public debt to be reduced through cuts in government spending rather than through only tax measures. I heartedly agree, Mr. Speaker. Going forward, we will tailor our expenditure to align with our fiscal realities. After all, whoever pays off their debt gets rich. Mr. Speaker, we are poised to implement a three-pronged approach to achieve our objective with this budget immediately. First will be to recalibrate the fiscal adjustment And we believe that by priority-led fiscal adjustment can initiate a positive cycle. Fiscal adjustment can initiate a positive cycle in a way that first, it will help and curb depreciation of the cedi. Secondly, it will lessen government reliance on borrowing, which in turn will reduce the crowding out of private sector interest rates. Lastly, this approach will ease the strain on monetary policy, allowing the central bank some greater flexibility to reduce monetary policy, ultimately resulting in lower bank and lending rates. So, Speaker, we are taking shock therapy to the economy by making significant spending cuts this year, thereby reducing the government financing needs and front-loading fiscal adjustment. This for our policy credibility and creditworthiness. Right, Honourable Speaker, our third approach will be to restore fiscal responsibility by moving forward on financial management, by empowering ministers to effectively manage their budget on their own, ensuring strict compliance with the commencement certificate. Will be passing and enforcing a revised Fiscal Responsibility Act, and finally, we will enforce the sanction regime for non-compliance of the public financial. Mr. Speaker, in pursuit of the overarching macroeconomic objectives, the following macroeconomic targets have been set for the overall real GDP growth of at least 4% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, not less non-oil real GDP at least 4.8% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, end period inflation rate of 11.9%. Commitment basis of a surplus of 1.5% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, gross international reserves, including oil funds and encumbered assets, to cover not more than a minimum of 3 months of import. Mr. Speaker, to address inflation, implement a number of measures to complement the Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the measure range rate include the following. We will be establishing the Ghana Gold Board to enhance the generation of accumulation of forex to support the stability. The Bank of Ghana will continue to implement its FX forward auction to support the stability of the Ghana cedi. Government strong fiscal consolidation through the in public sector spending. Fiscal deficit will reduce the pressure on the exchange rate. Mr. Speaker, our import substitution drive and for our economy involving domestic production of key products originally imported will reduce import and related FS requirements, boding well stability. Right, Honourable Speaker, we are addressing the inflation problems through a number of measures, including the following. First, interventions for economic transformational agenda is expected to increase food production and reduce food inflation. Government will implement policies that with large weight in the CPI basket, such as transportation and utility, to reduce their prices. Mr. Speaker, our aggressive fiscal consolidation that reducing the fiscal deficit and borrowing will contribute significantly to reducing inflationary pressures. Right, Honourable Speaker, our strategy to improve exchange rate stability supported inflation and fuel prices. And Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Ghana will maintain an appropriate monetary policy stance and use its liquidity management interventions to the disinflation process. Right, Honourable Speaker, to achieve our expenditure-led fiscal consolidation objectives, we will implement the following measures. Speaker, I now take you to our expenditure measures. Mr. Speaker, the following expenditure measures will be implemented in 2025 and the medium-term fiscal consolidation agenda. First, we will conduct a comprehensive audit to validate the quantity 2024. Mr. Speaker, the mandatory use of blanket in line with expenditure ceilings will be implemented. We will amend the Public Procurement Act to provide for to make commencement certificate and budgetary provision. We will fully integrate GANEPS and GIFMIS, the MDA's projects and purchase orders that have approved budget and allotment can obtain procurement approvals. Mr. Speaker, we will operationalize the compliance desk to monitor reports on commitment and arrest accumulation. Mr. Speaker, aside that, we will publish a PFM league table for compliance purposes. We will strictly under the sections 96 to 98 of the Public Financial Management Act for breaches of the PFM Act, specifically those accumulation and commitment control. Right, Honorable Speaker, we will cut waste and we will cut it very deep. Mr. Speaker, we have selected expenditure items including the Ghana Cares, the USTAT, one district, one factory for complete elimination. Mr. Speaker, we will reassign the functions of development authorities such as Coastal Development Authority, the Northern Development Authority, the Middle Belt to the district assemblies and do away with the development authorities. So, Speaker, we will amend the Petroleum Revenue Management Act to allocate all AB for infrastructure use, not for goods and services, but for infrastructure use. So, Speaker, the National Health Insurance will receive under the ERBC share of net carried and participating interest from 30% to 15% and fully restore transfers to GMPC under the earmark fund and capping. Right, Honorable Speaker, we'll be amending the Mineral Income and Investment Fund Act to ensure that 80% of the royalties originated by MIF is transferred to the Consolidated Fund for Infrastructure Development. Right, Honorable Speaker, we will strengthen social protection, implementation of new interventions such as the no academic fee policy for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions under the no fees. The Speaker, it also includes the free tertiary education for persons with disability, free primary health care, the Ghana Medical, otherwise known as Mahama Care, and free sanitary pads for schoolgirls. Mr. Speaker, but energy sector challenges, including reducing the quantum of large energy sector shortfalls, the following energy sector recovery program interventions will be this year. First, Mr. Speaker, ECG and NEDCO will implement a number of measures, including metering and implementation of private sector participation. Speaker, will also implement the liquid fuel to gas swap through an increase in end gas supply from 60 mmSC per day to 100 mmSC to take advantage of cheaper gas prices and others. And Speaker, we will complete the IPP capacity renegotiation through negotiated lower fixed capacity charges and variable O&M charges. Mr. Speaker, as agreed with the IMF administration, we will implement the following ESRP measures to achieve the structural benchmark of the IMF program. Mr. Speaker, PURC will continue tariff adjustment to reflect changes in inflation, exchange rate, and generation mix. Mr. Speaker, PURC will also undertake a major task which will be due in fourth quarter of 2025 to reflect capacity charges, additional liquid fuel usage, and additional capex. The weighted average cost of gas from the current $7.80 per MMBTU to $8.45. Reflect the extra gas as well as the changes in the supply mix. So, Speaker, the subsidy on weighted granted to some through the discounted industrial development tariff will be reversed. So, Speaker, I now take you to the revenue measures. So, Speaker, in proposing some revenue measures to achieve the 2025 fiscal target for your consideration, thank you to the IMF requirement. Mr. Speaker, this measures is inconsistent with our commitment under the IMF-supported program to obtain tax revenue effort of 0.6% point of GDP annually as part of the measures to improve domestic revenue mobilization and achieve our debt sustainability target. Right Honourable Speaker, despite our commitment to increase the non-oil tax revenue by 0.6%, we have programmed the following nuisance tax in line with our manifesto promise. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 10% withholding on winning from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax. Mr. Speaker, we abolish the electronic transfer levy, e-levy of 1%. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 10% withholding tax on bet. We will abolish the electronic transfer levy, e-levy of 1%. We will abolish the emission tax. We will abolish the VAT on motor vehicle insurance policy. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish 5% withholding tax on unprocessed gold by small-scale miners. The removal of these taxes will ease the burden on households and improve their disposable incomes. In addition, it will support business growth and improve tax compliance. Mr. Speaker, the tax refund study revealed that 9.1 billion Ghana cedis had accrued to the tax refund account, with only 12.5 billion Ghana cedis, representing 43% of the total accrued amount, being used for tax refund purposes. Mr. Speaker, the study also revealed 6 billion Ghana cedis, representing 57% of the total amount accumulated in the tax refund account, was misapplied, which is a total violation of the Revenue Administration Act 915, and the Public Financial Management Act. Actively, Mr. Speaker, there were virtually no tax refund arrests over the period. Mr. Speaker, and therefore, we are reducing the refund ceiling by 2 percentage points from 6% to 4% of total revenue, as defined in Section 69 of the Revenue Administration Act 915. Mr. Speaker, by reducing the ceiling on the tax refund from 6% to 4%, Right Honourable Speaker, saved the taxpayer 3.8 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this amount is enough to close the rate from the removal of the e-levy and the betting levy. So, Speaker, the e-levy would have accrued 1.9 billion Ghana cedis, and the betting tax would have accrued 180 million. The two put together is just above 2 billion Ghana cedis. Reducing the tax refund account from 6 to 4, it is enough to remove this tax, and the savings will be provided by interventions. Mr. Speaker, already we have saved 3.8 billion cedis for 2025 alone. From one source, enough to close the gap from the tax. Mr. Speaker, to address the concerns on how we are going to close the revenue shortfalls, the answer is that we have stopped the breach. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, with this budget, we will amend the Revenue Administration Act 2016. This measure will improve the tax revenue net of tax refund by 2%, representing 0.3% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, in line with government policy, the 2025 minimum wage recently negotiated with the National Tripartite will be zero rated. This is consistent with our resolve to protect the poor and the vulnerable. Mr. Speaker, again, without this levy, we will also review the Energy Sector Levies Act to consolidate the energy debt recovery, the Energy Sector Recovery Levy, and pollution levy into one levy and use the proceeds to cater for energy sector shortfalls and service the inherited service obligation. Mr. Speaker, the reset has just begun. Road Fund Levy, Energy Fund Levy, Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy, Public Lighting and National Electrification Levy will remain to support the achievement of their intended objectives. Right Honorable Speaker, Ghana has capitalized on the benefits of its extractive sector to generate revenue to support. We have a natural wealth by capturing its rent and channeling it towards productive infrastructure and human capital. Not rent, which is the difference between the revenue of a commodity and the average cost of producing that commodity. It's about 14% of GDP in Ghana. However, Mr. Speaker, revenue from extractive industry is around 1.5% of GDP only. This is because, as a country, we have failed to full of our natural resources. Mr. Speaker, whereas growth prices have seen some significant increase in recent times, Ghana has not been able to take full advantage of the development. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, we are proposing to increase the growth and sustainability levy from 1% on gross production of mining companies to 3% to enable to have its fair share of the windfall. Mr. Speaker, we also propose to extend the sunset clause to 20. Mr. Speaker, we also propose to extend the sunset clause of the special import levy to 2028. Speaker, Ghanaians, Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians and this Honorable House will recall public roads were zero rated in the year 2022. Demand for construction and improvement of infrastructure continues to increase, even as substantial arrest in the road sector remains. Right Honorable Speaker, while the annual average collection from road tolls have not been significant compared to the existing zero-rated policy for road tolls has increased the situation and dimmed the prospect of raising enough revenues to road construction and maintenance. Accordingly, government will work with the stakeholders, including the private sector, to roll out a solution to reintroduce road tolls this year as part of the big push. Right Honorable Speaker, we will also strengthen the legal and regulatory regime and enforce the framework to improve service delivery. This will be achieved through the introduction of an overarching non-tax revenue legislation, existing relevant laws, and the development of a national non-tax revenue strategy and policy. Mr. Speaker, as part of the reforms in other non-tax revenue streams, government will explore the operationalization of a regulatory framework for collection, management, and reporting of consistent with our medium-term revenue strategy 2024 to 2027 and the Local Government Act. Mr. Speaker, we believe that the lorry must be given the opportunity to collect their own property rates. Mr. Speaker, the current compliance rate and personal income tax is below 30%, which is extremely low. Government will embark on an aggressive and sustained tax education campaign for years to ensure improved compliance and tax revenue mobilization. We will also institute a quarterly dialogue on tax issues among the Ghana Revenue Authority, finance, and the business community to ensure that issues affecting businesses are addressed promptly. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to VAT reforms, VAT reforms. Right Honourable Speaker, we commit to the people of Ghana and this House, the business community, that we will undertake a comprehensive, Mr. Speaker, with the aim to review the current distortions and cascading of the value-added tax regime. Ghana's effective rate, VAT rate, is about 22%. This is obviously because the 2.5% Get Fund levy, the National Health Insurance levy of 2.5%, and the COVID levy are well for a final determination of what is due for VAT purposes. So, Speaker, aside the high VAT rate, businesses are not permitted, Honourable Speaker. Our VAT regime has been rendered inefficient. It combines both VAT and sales tax principles with a flat rate, standard rate, and levies. We have requested for text from the Fiscal Affairs Department of the IMF on VAT reforms. It is expected that the IMF mission will commence in April 2025. The recommendations mission are expected to inform our reform. Mr. Speaker, ahead of the IMF Technical Assistance Mission, I will inaugurate a VAT reform tax code broad consultation with key stakeholders for their input. Mr. Speaker, the parameters for VAT reform will be to complete this year. Mr. Speaker, the parameters will include the following. 1, abolishing the COVID levy. Mr. Speaker, revision of Get Fund and Enhail VAT from VAT. Mr. Speaker, reducing the effective VAT rate for households and businesses. Reverse regime and upwardly adjusting the VAT registration threshold to exempt micro and small businesses from the collection of VAT. Improve compliance through public education and awareness. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to revenue mobilization and resource accumulation. Mr. Speaker, total revenue and grant for 2025 is projected at 223.8 billion Ghana cedis, 2% of GDP, up from 186.5 billion or 17.4% of GDP. The projection is underpinned by non-oil revenue expected to yield at least 0.6% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, total expenditure on commitment basis has been programmed at 269.1 billion, representing 20.7% of GDP, down from 207 billion, which is 26% of GDP in the year 2024. Primary expenditure on commitment basis is projected at 204.7 billion Ghana cedis, representing 15.8% of GDP, which is a significant significant decline from 232.4 billion, representing 21.7% of GDP in the year 2024. Based on the resource allocation from 2025 fiscal year, the total appropriations for the year ending 31st December 2025 is 291,212,435 billion Ghana cedis. So, Speaker, budget financing. Right, Honorable Speaker. Based for total revenue and grant and total expenditure, the projected overall balance on commitment basis is a deficit of 43.8 billion Ghana cedis to 3.1% of GDP. The corresponding primary balance on commitment basis is a surplus of 20.3 billion, equivalent to 1.5% of GDP. On cash basis, Mr. Speaker, overall balance is a deficit of 56.9 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 0.1% of GDP. The corresponding primary balance on cash basis is again a surplus of 7.3 billion, equivalent to 0.5%. Right, Honorable Speaker. The cash deficit of 56.9 billion is expected to be financed from both foreign and domestic sources. The total foreign financing will amount to 21.4 billion Ghana cedis. Foreign financing will include a provision for financing from IMF ECF program, disbursed 720 billion Ghana cedis, and the World Bank Development Policy operations of 600 million Ghana cedis. The residual net will amount to 36.9 billion, representing 65% of total financing for 2025. This is expected to be sourced from the issuance short end of the domestic market and opening of the domestic market. Mr. Speaker, the government will take steps to reopen the domestic bond market to extend. The reopening will be executed cautiously to establish large-size benchmark bonds that will enhance market liquidity. Right, Honorable Speaker. Further is to reduce the risk on debt portfolio of government, and we will build cash buffers to support effective implementation of the liability management. Mr. Speaker, this will help smoothen the redemption profile and mitigate refinancing risk associated with Ghana's debt portfolio. Mr. Speaker, 2025 and the medium term will implement liability management operations to manage the risk embedded in the Eurobond debt profile. Right, beginning 2025, we will commence the operationalization of Section 37 to Section 44 of the Public Financial Management Act. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, we will be building sufficient buffers in the sinking fund as a landmark reform to manage our public debt. Honorable Speaker, I'm pleased to report to the House that following our proactive fiscal management strategy, in our engagement with the market, this management strategy has yielded sufficient dividend. So, Speaker, in 2025, the NDC government inherited a 91-day Treasury bill rate of 28.19%. So, Speaker, a month into this administration, we have successfully reduced this rate to 17.72% as at last Friday. This represents a reduction of over 10%. In other words, 1,047 basis points in just 2 months. To speak, on the 7th January 2024, we inherited a 182-day Treasury bill rate at 28.92%. And successfully reduced that rate to 18.97% as at Friday, 7th March 2025. This represents a reduction of 900 basis points in only 2 months. The Speaker, again, on the 7th of January 2025, we inherited a 360 rate of 30.15%. We have successfully reduced this rate to 19.93% as at Friday, 7th March. Mr. Speaker, this represents a reduction of 1,022 basis points in just 2 months. Mr. Speaker, on average, rates have fallen by over 1,000 basis points, signifying a strong investor confidence, crowding in the private sector, reducing the cost and overall acceptance of economic policies of President John Dramani Mahama, ultimately laying the groundwork for sustained macroeconomic stability. Mr. Speaker, Right Honourable Speaker, the key at stimulating economic growth, creating an enabling environment for business to operate 24/7 in 3 shifts of 8 hours each to boost production, promote production, generate well-paying jobs. We will be presenting the policy to Parliament in due course for consideration. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, the Labour Act, the GI, other enabling legislations will be reviewed to support the 24-hour economy policy. Right Honourable Speaker, we'll roll out the implementation of the 10 Big Push policy for strategic infrastructure development to open up the country and drive sustainable economic growth. Right Honourable Speaker, board will be established in the course of the year and as soon as possible. So, Speaker, we will stabilize the Ghana cedi, stability to the macroeconomy. We will implement an economic transformational agenda underpinned by structural reforms anchored on promoting modern agriculture, agribusiness, and value addition for import substitution, export, and job creation. Mr. Speaker, we will complement monetary policy, sector policies to reduce inflation. Food inflation will be reduced through the implementation of the Agriculture for Economic Transformation agenda, anchored on our. Right Honourable Speaker, we will undertake key structural reforms to support inclusive economic growth, fiscal and debt sustainability, sound management, efficient public service delivery, and good governance. The Speaker will restructure the Bank of Ghana to strengthen its independence and operationalize its efficiency mandate. So, Speaker, we will ensure that social protection is adequately catered for in the course of the year. We will use government procurement to drive made in Ghana to promote production and consumption of made in Ghana goods. Right Honourable Speaker, to demonstrate this agenda, as I with a presentation of a bag proudly made in Ghana by Horseman. Mr. Speaker, they would be encouraged. Right Honourable Speaker, beginning this year, we will formalize the export of Ghanaian labor, a structured and beneficial system for Ghanaian workers seeking employment abroad and create safer legal pathway for them to work whilst protecting their rights and welfare. Mr. Speaker, this will also reduce illegal migration, prevent worker exploitation, and maximize of remittance and boost foreign exchange earnings. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to how these resources will be allocated in 2025. Mr. Speaker, we will provide a cedi equivalent of $279 million as a revolving fund for the Ghana Gold Board to purchase and export at least 3 tons of gold per week from small-scale miners. Mr. Speaker, we have allocated 5 billion Ghana cedis for Big Push project. Mr. Speaker, we have allocated 0.85 billion Ghana cedis for the Big Push program. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 499.8 million Ghana has been allocated for the non-academic fee policy for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions under the No Fee Stress initiatives. We have allocated an amount of 292.4 million Ghana cedis to commence the distribution of free to female students in primary and secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, we have allocated again an amount of 242 million Ghana cedis to support the victim of Akosombo Dam spillage. Right, Honorable Speaker, we have also allocated an amount of 1 million Ghana cedis to support the victim of tidal wave disaster that recently displaced resident in certain part of the constituency. Mr. Speaker, the overarching concern about free secondary education has been and the absence of dedicated sources of financing. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has resolved it. Let me take this again. The overarching concern about free secondary education has been its quality and the absence of a dedicated source. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has resolved the funding challenges by uncapping the GET fund. Mr. Speaker, this makes available dedicated funding for full financing of free senior secondary school education for persons with disability. Mr. Speaker, therefore, Capping and Realignment Act to uncap the Ghana Education Trust Fund. Mr. Speaker, this year, the budget for free senior secondary school education program is 3.5 billion Ghana cedis. By uncapping the GET fund, we will be making available an additional 4.1 billion Ghana cedis specifically for final secondary education program and other related expenditures. Mr. Speaker, aside the uncapping of GET fund, we have the debt service made up of interest and principal from the Dache bond that GET fund contracted. Right, Honorable Speaker, I've also allocated an amount of 564.6 million Ghana cedis for the provision of curriculum-based textbooks covering the 4 sets of KG books and workbooks for about 2.8 million learners. Mr. Speaker, we have for 4 sets of primary textbooks for about 800,000 learners. So, Speaker, we have also provided for chess textbooks for about 540,000 learners. Right, Honorable Speaker, under the school feeding program, budgetary provision has been increased from the 1.3 billion Ghana cedis last year to 1.78 billion Ghana cedis, representing a 33% increase. The allocation for 2025 reflects an increase in feeding costs per meal, per the 1 cedi 50 pesos to 2 cedis, representing 33.3%. Mr. Speaker, the government has allocated 145.5 million Ghana cedis to the capitation grant, up from 84 million Ghana cedis in 2024. And this is an increase of 73.4% over the previous year. Mr. Speaker, we have also allocated 203 million for the payment of teacher training allowances and another 480 million Ghana cedis allowances. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have uncapped the National Health Insurance Levy. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have uncapped the National Health. An amount of about 10 billion Ghana cedis has been programmed for the National Health Insurance Scheme. The amount is expected to be used for the following: essential medicine, vaccine payment, free primary health care, the Ghana Medical Care Trust, Mr. Speaker, and bridging the USAID financing reforms and increase budgetary allocation to enhance the implementation of 4 targeted social protections, namely National Health Insurance, the LEAP program, the school feeding program, and the capitation grant. Right Honorable Speaker, program beneficiaries will be increased from the current 350,000 to 400,000 beginning July 2020. The allocation of 728.8 million Ghana cedis for last year has been increased to 3.5 million Ghana cedis in the year 2025. So, Speaker, we have also uncapped the road fund. An amount of 2.81 billion Ghana cedis has been programmed for the Ghana Road Fund to be used solely for road maintenance. This represents an 155% over the 2024 allocation of 1.1 billion Ghana cedis. 1.1 billion Ghana cedis. We have also allocated an amount of 7.5 billion Ghana cedis to the District Assembly Common Fund. In accordance with the decentralization policy, we propose to Parliament that a minimum of 80% of the funds allocated to the District Assembly Common Fund directly to the district assemblies to spur economic growth and the district at the district level to deepen decentralization. I repeat, we have allocated an amount of 7.5 billion Ghana cedis to the district assemblies common fund. With our decentralization policy and objective, we propose to Parliament that a minimum of 80% of the funds should be sent directly to the district assembly economic growth at the district level and deepen decentralization. Mr. Speaker, it is worth noting that in a stark to what has happened recently at the District Assembly Common Fund, where only 50% of the released amount are sent to the District Assembly of running the assemblies. Mr. Speaker, we have also allocated an amount of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis for agriculture for economic transformation program. Feed Ghana, Ghana Grains Development Project, Vegetable Development Project, and Nkoko Nketenkete are all key components of the program. Speaker, we have also allocated 51.3 million Ghana cedis as seed fund for the establishment of the Women's Development. Mr. Speaker, we have also allocated 100 million Ghana cedis to the National Apprenticeship Program. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, we have also allocated 300 million Ghana cedis to the National Apprenticeship Program. Right, Honorable Speaker, we have also allocated an amount of 100 million Ghana cedis program. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 100 million Ghana cedis has been allocated to the National Codex Program. Mr. Speaker, another amount of 100 has been allocated for the payment of monthly allowance to all Assembly members. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, sector ministers will be presenting to this House a detailed sectorial performance and outlook, as well as, Mr. Speaker, sector ministers will House a detailed sectorial performance and outlook, as well as sector specific to deal with the challenges of various MDAs. So, Speaker, I want to repeat this. So, Speaker, sector ministers obtain a detailed sectorial performance and outlook, as well as specific challenges of various MDAs. This is indeed a departure from the norm, where ministers of finance present detailed sectorial of their budget speech. So, Speaker, I believe sector ministers must be made to do so. Right Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the state of the economy, as I have presented, does not reflect an economy that has turned the corner. It reflects an economy in severe distress, burdened by payment harms, mismanagement, and lack of accountability. The budget sets Ghana on a path of fiscal responsibility, sustainability, macroeconomic stability, and job creation. It is about resetting the economy and restoring hope. Ghanaians remained in a better future when they actively participated in the National Economic Dialogue on the 3rd and 4th, 2025. A key outcome of the dialogue was the confirmation that the fundamental problem with our economy is fiscal indiscipline. The NPP administration awarded contracts outside the expenditure framework. They borrowed over and above Ghana's capacity to repay. Mr. Speaker, His President John Dramani Mahamad's administration will be fiscally disciplined and deliver improved public service to our people in a cost-effective manner. Mr. Speaker, we remain steadfast in meeting the IMF program target while restoring Ghana's creditworthiness. We have a short time, but this is only the beginning. Our commitment to reform we will not waver on that. Mr. Speaker, we have achieved a lot, and our commitment to reform will not waver. Those who doubt our resolve should not underestimate the determination of the people of Ghana. No longer tolerate ineffective governance. Together, we will navigate these turbulent times and emerge with serious progress. Right Honorable Speaker, we are making progress. We committed to run government, 60 ministers. Mr. Speaker, we have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to scrapping the e-levy. We have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to scrapping the burden tax. We have delivered. Right Honorable Speaker, we committed to make fee for first-year public tertiary students. We have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to tertiary education for all people with disability. We have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to providing dedicated source of funding secondary education. We have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to distributing sanitary pads to our school girls. Mr. Speaker, we committed to uncap get fund. We have delivered. Mr. Speaker, to uncap the national health insurance. We have delivered. We committed to uncap the road fund. We have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to hold a national forum on education. We have delivered. Right Honorable Speaker, committed to hold a national dialogue on the economy. We have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to deliver free primary health care. Delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to deliver Mahama Care Program to finance the treatment of non-communicable diseases. We have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to deliver free textbooks to school children. We have delivered. We committed to begin the implementation of $10 million Big Push program. Mr. Speaker, we have delivered. Mr. Speaker, we committed to constitute process for our constitution. Mr. Speaker, we are delivering. Mr. Speaker, we committed to build the Ghana we want together. We are delivering. Honorable Speaker, we committed to recover all looted state funds under Operation Recover All Loot program. We are delivering. Right Honorable Speaker, I call on Parliament, the bill together, Mr. Speaker, to build a resilient economy that will help us tackle the challenges we face as a country. This budget is a foundation. We will build a more resilient and equitable society. Mr. Speaker, this budget is not just about numbers. It is about a blueprint for growth and opportunity. With unity and determination, we can restore faith in our economy, foster innovation every Ghanaian. Mr. Speaker, with unity and determination, I repeat, we can restore faith in our economy, foster innovation every Ghanaian. Right Honorable Speaker, on behalf of His Excellency the President, I invite this House to join hands with us to build the Ghana we want together. Mr. Speaker, I thank you so much. Idebi Keke.
Get it back. Yeah, the Fantafour, dear baby. Fantafour.
Members. Honorable members, honorable members, the minister has taken 1 hour the statement, and I believe by our the statement time is ended. We now move on to the commencement of public business. Item 8. Presentation of papers to be presented. Presentation of papers. The following papers to be presented. A. By the Minister for Finance.
Annual report on the petroleum fund for the 2024 fiscal year.
Honorable members, this refers to 8A Roman 1, and this is presented and is referred to the Finance Committee for consideration and report to the House. Move on to 8A Roman 2.
Annual report on the collection and utilization of the African Union import levy for the 2024 fiscal year.
Yes, this report is also duly laid and is referred to the Finance Committee . I would now want to hear from the leaders. I saw the minority leader that he may want to have a word. Yes, minority leader.
We have been presenting lamentation series. The part 1, Mr. Speaker, the part 1 was Mahamanomics. The part 2 is Forcenomics. And that under the economy about, the growth was 5.7%. And under the research, the growth is rather going down. You are projecting 4 point something growth. That is what you are doing. Mr. Speaker, the economy complain about left us with 4 months of import cover. They are projecting under reset. Mr. Speaker,
Radio.
the economy up to 2016 and left us with some IPP. Today they are to renegotiate the very disaster they left us. Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Minority Leader, Honorable Minority
today we are giving an indication.
Honorable Minority Leader, please be guided by
comment on. We are not going to make comment today. 91, Mr. Speaker, because Mr. Speaker, they are not ready. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, let the minority leader enjoy his bona fides for this.
I owe attention to the fact that you can only make comments.
Very well. On this statement by the finance minister, to all of us in this chamber, that today they decided to populate this chamber Mr. Speaker, they populated this chamber with their members.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker.
The Minister for Finance did not talk about the population.
Notice when the finance minister came to present his statement, for the first time after the inauguration, the swearing in, we have witnessed, Mr. Speaker, their own much talked about for 24-hour economy. The president came, they said it was not ready. The finance minister 24-hour economy policy is not included yet. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the youth of this have been waiting for this 24-hour economy policy. The minister tells us policy later. Hey, at all. The policy will be brought later. Mr. Speaker, it is clear that all the jobs the youth of this country was merely an Azam promise. Mr. Speaker, there is no inspiration from this budget. There is no hope in this budget. The repetition social intervention programs, Mr. Speaker, and then the minister complained that some contracts at the road sector had no commencement. Go to the Chain Homes Road. There is a road construction on the Chain Homes. There is a new road being constructed to the 10 rooms with a new runabout. There is a search. There is no commencement. There is no PP approval. You are doing, Mr. Speaker, you have started construction.
Honorable Minority Leader. Honorable Minority Leader. Honorable Minority Leader. Please, comments. I have given you a privilege. Don't abuse it.
Mr. Speaker, conclude my comment by saying that whereas the Minister of Finance told us that there would be against all those who go contrary to the PFM Act, under his own administration, the road is being constructed now. A new runabout is being constructed. Meanwhile, there is no commencement. There is no PP approval. Mr. Speaker, the sanctions must start with his own ministers. Mr. Speaker, we are ready for our comments. They are not ready. But if the minister is going to stay, Mr. Speaker, let us start the comments on this budget and now. Because this Azam budget, we cannot allow it to get onto the shelves for Ghanaians to think that there is any hope, Mr. Speaker. There is government to expose them. Thank you very much.
Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the minority leader and I share something in common. Both assemblymen. And when the Minister of Finance made the announcement of a gargantuan sum of money for assemblymen, I saw the gleeful smile on his face. Unfortunately, it clearly is a budget of a government and a party its promises. Almost every promise that was made by Ajmani Mahama is being fulfilled in less than 120 days. This budget is a budget for Makola women. This budget is a budget for assemblymen. This budget is a budget for girls. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, it seems to me that the men on this side have started using sanitary pads. Because the sanitary pads is for the female students. That's why I said girls. Mr. Speaker, this is for school children. They will now get the set of textbooks that they need to study. And peace of mind. This is a budget that delivers solid reforms. And this is a budget that is moving our growth to real growth. Mr. Speaker, by the time we finish implementing, and by the time we finish implementing the three that will come after this one, Osunu Baya Nkiti. Osunu Baya Nkiti Kiti. Osunu Nkiti Kiti. To it, Mr. Speaker, the elephant will become small. Osunu Baya Kiti Kiti.
Majority Leader, the Minister for Finance did not talk about Osunu. Osunu is not part of the statement. Please.
Speaker wants to rub it in. Mr. Speaker, on that note, I want to assure my friend leader that the road at Chain Homes that is being done is not a new project. It's not a new project. So don't. There's something else you want me to add. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, this is a budget that gives hope to Ghanaians. This is a budget that will create jobs for the youth of this country. Economy and provide the enabling environment for the private sector to thrive and create jobs for the youth of fishermen, Okada riders, taxi drivers, students, the energy sector by the implementation of this budget. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Minister of Finance for making the statement and to assure my friend, the Minority Leader, that we are ready to debate their records and our records, and we are ready to demonstrate that.
Honorable members, as this statement is not to be debated, you have to make comments. We are going to provide a few things for members because it's a transition. We used to debate budgets by making it a motion. Our standing orders from experience guided us to a statement. And so last budget was a statement. And this one too is a statement. So it's a new field. And you need as to what to do during the course of that. If not, the Speaker will have a hell of trouble managing the House. What I tend to do is to exhibit at the foyer budget statements since you can go to the foyer and you get the budget statement since independence. We also have soft copies of handouts with the pictures of finance. They for you to go and either have a picture view or request for a copy so that you can, at your own leisure, go through it yourselves. A viewing session now of what has happened today, and that one too is available as a side attraction. You can go and have access and view it. We believe that this will assist you, and as we do that, we may focus on, and we particularly want to project the excellent inputs that our ladies make as part of the affirmative action, the law that we passed. So we will give priority or place in this feature. So with this, honorable members, I will proceed to not yet done 5 hours to put a question. And then you decide whether we should adjourn. So I'm going to put the question. Honorable members, I will allow the leaders to do the motion. So I will call on the minority leader. The minority leader wants to move the motion.
Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I believe that since 7th January, this is the first time he's entering this info of comment before we move the motion for adjournment. So, Mr. Speaker, this is the first time we are having a full house. So, Mr. Speaker, let's give them the opportunity to comment, those who are not regular in this chamber. So, once we are done, we can then move the motion to adjourn the House. Mr. Speaker, that is mine. I don't know whether they would agree. But if they are in a hurry to go back home, Mr. Speaker, I would therefore move that this House be adjourned to enable them go back home.
Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, what the says is a reflection of the constitution of this site. It's testimony to the fact. When they are needed, they will be here. When they are needed, they will be here.
Honorable members,
Mr. Speaker,
honorable members, Honorable members, please. Honorable members, that choir sings. I want to repeat. I want to repeat it. I'm sure you didn't hear what I was trying to say. The Winneba choir sings better than you all. Madam, you may now go on.
Mr. Speaker, it is obvious that minority have withdrawn from participating in the involvement in the development of this country. They started it and then they got the response. Mr. Speaker, on that note, I second the motion for adjournment.
Honorable members, those in favor of the motion for say aye. Those against the motion for adjournment say no.
Mr. Speaker, there's rebellion on this side of the House.
That is democracy. They are entitled to disagree, even with their leader. But yes, minority leader.
Mr. Speaker, a very peaceful caucus. Mr. Speaker, I moved the motion for adjournment for the benefit. I said to enable them go home and rest. But we are ready to work. So
the ayes have it. The motion that this House stands adjourned to tomorrow at 10 in the House is adjourned.
And you might have a better way. As a South now. As an out here, and I say, oh, and any other. Now, so to tell no one, and I know no dimupa if you say Sabreno, not a telephone, I'm a telephone. In fact, I don't see any way. Ebia and a mobile phone, it may not sound too relevant, but Sabreno, dear. Quantity, awardie, bingo. A quantity, awardie, bingo. Samina me gonna zimbizi me jamere. Let me gonna zimbizi me jamere. Mante, papa yanga. A quantity, awardie, bingo. A quantity, bingo. Samina me gonna. No, and yet, young Kwan, you ha. Yen Yano Monso ha, ye quampa for, ye kakra. Ye jama yen yanum, no Monso matuaso. Actually, ye the Bakum University Epimoso, and Sania. Co. Ebo, Nafi ye demo my yen yanum, no Monso matuaso kakra. And repair me a best album. Nianso ya bebubi, ya better channel kakranka krasa. All right. I'm quantity, I'm quantity, Kano, welcome, baby, welcome, my son, Kano, baby. Kano, baby, welcome, my son, Kano, every year. I do have a Kano, I do have a Kano, Kano, every year. Ajuaba Kano, Ajuaba Kano, Kano,